Okay, good evening everybody. It's a pleasure to be here with you. My name is Benjamin. I'm the co-founder of the MirYam Institute. We want you to help us to propel forward the story into public consciousness of the plight of the hostages who remain inside the Gaza Strip today, whose families are with us. To give you their names right away and get you moving with an action item immediately, MirYam is a 21-year-old civilian kidnapped from a party in southern Israel. He was then taken into the Gaza Strip, bound, beaten. Hamas filmed him in captivity and broadcast that video for all to see. So his mother, who is with us here tonight, has seen that video of Hassan. The second individual is Eviatar David. Eviatar David is a 23-year-old civilian inside the Gaza Strip. He was also kidnapped on October the 7th, and he features in the very same video that does MirYam. My friends, in the Torah, we read about the defiling of Jewish women. One of the atrocities that took place on October the 7th was the rape, sexual assault, systematic stripping of the dignity of our women inside the state of Israel. Some of those women were raped and then burned alive. But as we know, there's nothing new under the sun. We all know the story of Dinah, the daughter of Jacob, who was defiled by the people of Shechem. And in response to the defiling of Dinah, two of her brothers, two of the tribes of Jacob, the tribes of Israel, Shimon and Levi, made war upon the people of Shechem. They destroyed the people of Shechem, and they killed the people of Shechem. But there's an interesting story that precedes that battle. Before that battle, the people of Shechem entreated Shimon and Levi into peace talks. They suggested that in order to avert there being a fallout as a consequence of the rape that had taken place, that the people of Shechem would marry with the people of Israel, they would coexist, they would know peace with one another. And what's particularly curious about this negotiation is that Shimon and Levi actually agreed to those terms. They agreed to those terms with a caveat. The caveat was that every male in Shechem was to be circumcised. And the people of Shechem and the men of Shechem carried out that caveat. And 3 days after the circumcision, which our sages teach us is the most painful moment in the process of healing post-circumcision, we learn this from the story of Abraham, when he was welcoming the angels who told him and Sarah that he was to have a son, that he was sitting in his tent even on the most painful day post-circumcision. On the third day after the men of Shechem circumcised, Shimon and Levi routed that people. Completely, totally, and utterly. You fast forward several years, and Jacob, father of Shimon and Levi, is on his deathbed during the Torah reading of Parshat Vayechi, the final reading of the book of Genesis. And he distributes blessings to all of his sons, but he rebukes not Shimon and Levi themselves, but the anger. He curses the anger of Shimon and Levi that led them toward that battle with Shechem. And Jacob's reasoning was that Jacob was concerned, deeply concerned, that when the peoples around the town of Shechem would come and see what the people of Israel, Shimon and Levi, had done to the men, to the people of Shechem, those surrounding communities and tribes would unite and come and murder the people of Israel as an act of vengeance. But for those of you familiar with the readings, you'll know that actually never happened. There was no vengeance taken against the tribes of Shimon and Levi, let alone the people of Israel, as a consequence of what they did in Shechem. And the question is why? And one of the answers that we're taught is that the tribes and the communities around the area of Shechem did indeed see the destruction in Shechem. They did indeed see the dead in Shechem. But they also saw dead men who had been circumcised. And as they looked on, those nations and those tribes discerned from that fact that those people in Shechem were a group of dead Jews. And so why was no vengeance taken? No vengeance was taken because, as we learn from that story, the world will not go to war to defend or avenge dead Jews. The people of Israel must go to war to defend and to protect the Jewish people. For we and we alone are the ones who must bring retaliation and response to the horrific, horrendous, heinous crimes that were wrought upon our people on October the 7th. With 1,200 members of our society murdered, 240 taken into captivity as hostages. When the international community looks at the actions of the Israel Defense Forces now inside the Gaza Strip, they will run swiftly to label them as war criminals. But I can assure you, despite the evil act of the South African government bringing to the International Court of Justice a case against the State of Israel for our actions inside the Gaza Strip, in the final analysis, not a glove will be laid upon any one of our soldiers or any one of our commanders or upon our leaders. There's a phrase in Judaism that says, "B'makom she'en anashim hishtatel lihyot ish." In a place where there is no humanity, strive to be human. What our soldiers are in the midst of doing on air, land, and sea is implementing humanity to an area that to this point has been ruled over by demons. Those demons need to be destroyed. They need to be excised, and we must follow through this battle inside the Gaza Strip until total and utter victory. When I was a child, I was taught a poem. The poem was written by Amir Gilboa. He was a poet laureate who moved to what was then Palestine from Ukraine. And when writing about the attitudes of the nations of the world toward the Jewish people, Gilboa wrote the following three-stanza composition. He said, quote, "Im yaroni etz v'omar etz yomru etz. Im yaroni even v'omar even yomru even. Ach im yaroni dam ve'omar dam yomru tzeva." What Gilboa wrote was that when it comes to the attitudes of those nations to the Jews, if they show him as a Jew a tree and he concurs that it's a tree, they will say, yes, it's a tree. If they show him a stone and he concurs that it's a stone, they will say, yes, it's a stone. But if they show him his Jewish blood spilled and he concurs that it is indeed his Jewish blood spilled, they will say it's not Jewish blood, it's just paint. It's just color. Because the world has operated by a standard that assigns no value greater than that of spilled paint to the blood of dead Jews. I moved to the State of Israel to serve in the Israel Defense Forces because I wanted to be a part of a nation and a country and a people, and yes, a fighting force that will never allow Jewish blood to be devalued to nothing greater than spilled paint. And when I think of the story of Shimon and Levi, and when I think of the story of Amir Gilboa and the poem that he wrote, I ask you, has anything changed? When we see the headlines, when we see the criticism, when we hear and look on as the world tells us that we must stop, as we prosecute perhaps the most just war in the history of the one and only Jewish state, I ask you, has anything changed? And if we go to war over spilled Jewish blood, and we do so rightly, kal vachomer, how much more so must we go to war for Jews who we know are alive? Jews like Almog MirYam, who yes is the son of Orit, but he could be your son. And the enemies of our people would do the same to your sons and your daughters as they have done to these people's families. How much more so must we go to war for the life of Eviatar David, who we know is alive and who has to come home. And I'll say something controversial here at the podium. So valuable and so dear to us are these hostages that whatever we must do to bring them back alive, we must do, and we must not apologize for it. We operate according to a deeply strict code of principles. I know it because I've made the walk of those soldiers during my service. None of you should have any doubts about the virtue of our cause. There are two last points. Events in this world can separate us from those things dearest to us. In 2006, I was a soldier in the Israel Defense Forces, and there were two reservists who were kidnapped from our northern border. They were named Goldwasser and Regev. But at just the same time, there was another soldier, his name unknown to any of us at that moment, kidnapped from our southern flank by the name of Gilad Shalit. Those were the events that preceded the Second Lebanon War. That was a life-changing event for me and everybody who served alongside me. As I lectured throughout the United States, year after year, people who cared deeply about Israel would come to me after my talks and they would ask me about Gilad Shalit. And they would say to me quietly, furtively, almost obsequiously, "He's probably dead though, isn't he? There's probably no hope for Gilad Shalit, is there? Even if he is alive, he must have been so badly tortured, we probably don't actually really want to pursue that line of action anymore, do we, Benjamin?" And I used to say to them time and time again, we have no right whatsoever to give up hope until we have a clear sign that that hope is futile. And 5 years later, Gilad Shalit came home, and Gilad Shalit now lives a completely unremarkable, happy life in the state of Israel, which is all that these families of these hostages seek to bring about for their loved ones. That's all they want. These are not people who are in the business of asking for assistance, but here they are for that purpose. Just to give you two examples, the brother of Eviatar David, Eli, is currently enrolled in his studies for a physics degree at Hebrew University. He's a veteran of service in an elite unit of the Israel Defense Forces. Aviram Meir, the uncle of Almog MirYam, served as an officer in Sayeret Matkal. Sayeret Matkal, Aviram, but the unit that carried out the raid on Entebbe. These are not individuals who come typically seeking the help of others. But here they are. And so as we go through this conversation today, I'm asking you please to think about which members of Congress, which members of the Senate, which contacts in the White House, which sports influencers, which communities in New York to which we're traveling tomorrow, which communities across the United States, Which influencers do you know to whom you can connect us in order to push forward the story of these hostages into public consciousness? All of you know someone. We want your help. They want your help. You must not give up hope. We have no right to give up hope until we have a clear sign that that hope is futile. With that, I want to invite everybody to look at the screen. We're going to show the first video. I just want to give a moment for Galia to step outside of the room. And before we begin the video, I ask all of you to please be escorted by one phrase that the Jewish people recite daily. Hashem oz le'amo yiten, Hashem yavarech et amo b'shalom. God will give his people strength. God will bless his people with peace. Pay close attention to the construct of that sentence. Peace may come about, but first we must be strong. Now is a time for our strength and our unity, and together I'm sure that we will prevail. And the crown jewel of that will be for all of our hostages to come home to our people. Thank you very much.
This is Eviatar, kidnapped by Hamas and held captive on Gaza Strip. Eviatar is 22 years old from Kfar Saba. He is young and gentle, always surrounded by his friends. He works as a shift manager on a coffee house. He loves music, especially rock, and he is a talented guitarist. He loves life and an amazing son to Galia and Avishai, and a great brother to Eli and Yela. On Saturday, October 7th, Eviatar just wanted to celebrate life with 4 of his friends at the Nova party. He risked his life by helping others escape while he was surrounded by Hamas terrorists and found himself in hell. Please help us bring Eviatar back home.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Could we bring Galia and Eli David to come and speak to us, please? Please welcome them to the front. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're just going to have a short conversation with Galia, mother of Eviatar, and with Eli, brother of Eviatar, David. And Galia, just whatever you're comfortable saying, please speak to us a little bit about who Eviatar is.
This is Eviatar, my son. You can see his beautiful smile. He lives with us in Kfar Saba. It's a town in the middle of Israel, near Tel Aviv. He works as a shift manager in a cafe. He has a lot of friends. He is a charming young boy with a big heart. When he see a person, he look at his eyes and see the person. It doesn't matter if he is black, white, religious, or secular. He's very calm and smart and loves life. He's in the beginning of his own life, playing a guitar. He wants to learn to be producer. And in the 7th of October, his dreams, our life, changed. We feel like we live in a different world. It's a nightmare. It can't be reality. But this is our life since the 7th of October. Every minute, every second, all over the day, we worried about him. We miss him a lot. We don't know what is going on with him. Under the ground, probably. And from since, that's what we are doing. We are trying. And Eli said that we go to the end of the world for it, to bring him home, alive. Eli will tell you the story about how he was kidnapped. And thank you for listening.
So thank you for being here. Thank you for the kind hospitality. I'm Evietar's big brother. I'm 26 years old, and last week my brother celebrated his 23rd birthday in captivity. You saw at the video that my mom cannot watch because it contains the actual footage that Hamas took, and my mom really cannot watch. You saw the video that he was 22 because we made this video a month after the attack. But last week he turned 23. And we did anything in our power, really anything, to make sure that there's a chance, even the slightest chance, that he will know. Maybe he will watch the news, maybe he will listen to the radio, maybe someone near him will do that and tell him that he has a birthday and there's someone fighting for him. His family is fighting for him. His friends are fighting for him. The state of Israel is fighting for him. That was our hope. At October 6th, we had a Shabbat dinner like every week. And actually, we have a tradition that after the Shabbat dinner, we sit together, play and sing. I play the piano, he plays the guitar. But on that Friday's night, he was in a hurry because he went to that festival. I gave him a hug and a kiss, and he took my mom's car, which is now, by the way, burned to the ground with all the equipment he took and his friends took. He picked up his friends and went south. And the next morning, we woke up to the sirens, which is very unusual in our hometown because it's even it's northern to Tel Aviv. And it's very unusual that rockets are being shot at us because it's so far away from the Gaza Strip, far away. in the scale of Israel, of course. So we ran to the bomb shelter, and my mom texted him what's going on, and he said, they're blowing up the party. And he literally meant that, because Hamas was shooting rockets on them above their heads. And the conversation continued, and after an hour and a half, he sent his last message. And after that, he wouldn't answer the phone anymore. He said that he's going to the car, that they're trying to escape. But after that, he didn't answer the phone. His friends started to lose connection with us as well. And then we also opened TV and understood what's going on outside. We heard about the killing, and we understood that there's many wounded and many hiding at the field. Actually, one of his friends was hiding during that time in a bush while there's shooting around him and shouting. And we really didn't know what's going on with Eviatar. We scanned the internet, we searched for his name on the news. We asked from a producer in the festival to help us, but nothing. We didn't find his name. And I was prepared for the worst. I was prepared to bury my younger brother, but my little sister didn't give up. She posted on her Instagram page a photo of him with her phone number. She was calling for help. And a couple of hours later, it was about 2 p.m. when she got a message. Someone asked if we heard something about him, and she said, no, not yet. And then he said, I think I recognize him in a video. And then he sent a screenshot from that horrible video. And she called Ima, and we all came running to her room. And you need to understand that till that point, we were climbing the walls, tearing hairs from our heads, because we really didn't know what to do. We felt so helpless. And I grabbed her phone because I wanted to see the full video. I understood, maybe some of you have seen the horrific videos that Hamas posted on Telegram, and I was afraid that there's another execution that I'm about to see. So I took it, and then in that video I saw 5 young men in their 20s. They were all tied up. They were all lying or sitting inside a dark room. It was inside a Gaza Strip. And we recognized my brother. He didn't look injured. He was lying with his belly on the ground, and next to him was his childhood friend, Guy. And there were 3 other young men. One of them is Orit's son, Almog, which we didn't knew at that time, by the way. And it was so important for the cameraman for us to see the fear in their eyes. They were filming their faces very close because they wanted us to see how confused they are and how terrified they are. And at first it really made me furious. I felt like I could tear someone apart with my hands. And after that, I felt like complete helplessness because there's nothing I can do to save him, to protect him. But we also understood that he is alive. It's something to hold on to. And 24 hours later, I saw the news, a mother and a big sister, they were both talking about a young man abducted from the same festival, and it was Almog. And they, on the screen, there was Orit's daughter phone number, and I immediately called because they were showing the same video which my brother was in. And I called her, and we told each other what happened, and we cried each other on the phone. But we also understood that it's such a big situation. And we actually became some kind of big, weird family. We didn't ask for that, but it's like a community of very sad people trying to do everything they can to bring the loved one back home. So, as my mom said, we know nothing about their well-being, really, completely nothing. The only thing we know is that they're alive. And we can only imagine what is going on down there. We know that they are maybe being abused physically, mentally, and also that Hamas may be considering them as a threat because they are young men. And it's crazy. It's absurd to think that the only thing they do was celebrating their lives. They are civilians just wanting to have fun, dancing, like young men should do in that age. And they found themselves in hell for 90 days. The danger for their lives is getting bigger with every minute, every day that passes. So it feels very urgent to really. And we know that they will come back. We know that. We really do. We're full of hope and belief. But we also understand that there's very big power of evil that we're fighting. And we need your support. We need your hug. We can do it only together. And we need to tell the world to understand that it's a humanitarian issue. It's not only our problem. It's a worldwide problem. So again, thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. It's very important for us. We really appreciate it. And good will prevail. I know that. Thank you. Thank you.
We're just going to let Galia exit the room because we're going to show a video now about Almog MirYam, 21-year-old, hostage held inside the Gaza Strip to this day, kidnapped on October the 7th. Please, if you would direct your eyes to the video. Thank you.
اهدى ده خساره على خيطك لا والله هي كانت قويه وناس غلط خلاص بصايبك
sleep. All the time I am thinking about him. I saw his face. He covered himself, but he was looking frightened. It was very hard for me to see him like this. It's not my son. You know, my son is a happy guy.
My name is MirYam, and this is my son Almog. We came in the area where the festival was, Nova Festival in Kibbutz Rim. My son Almog was kidnapped from here, took him to Gaza. Gaza is over there.
Almog danced here, smiled here, had fun here, and in the end have been taken to Gaza.
Almog, please come back. We're waiting for you. We love you.
Please welcome Orit Meir and Aviram Meir to speak to you this evening. Please welcome them. Orit, we've done this several times. When Orit shows a video showing that she's fighting night and day, she, like the other family members of the hostages, are doing precisely that. They've left their home, they flew to Los Angeles, then to Colorado, they've spoken here, they're going to New York, and then they're going back home. They're not sightseeing, they're not touring, they're here to help, to seek your help, to help them to bring their son home. And I'd like to ask you, Orit, as ever I have done, to just tell us a bit, if you would, about Almog.
Of course. Almog is 21 years old. He's all the time smiling.
He's a very happy guy with lots of values. Smart. He loves music. Every time he took a shower, I used to listen how he sing. You know, our father passed an operation on his back. 4 months ago, three and a half. And Almog went to wash him because he need help. So for 2 weeks, him and his brother and my brother come every day to wash him. He's very sensitive. He's very close to the family. And he have dreams. He want to travel in South America. You want to study. You want to do lots of things. He was looking for a job, a real job. He found a job in high-tech. And he's supposed to start the job at the 8th of October. So actually he went to celebrate. Yeah. So at 6th of October in the evening, Tomer, his friend, came to pick him up to the festival. He was looking forward to the festival because 4 DJs from all over the world came, and he was waiting for the last one. That he loved his music, and it was supposed to be sunrise, at the sunrise in the morning. So we went. I asked him, "Where is the party?" Because he used to go to the north, to the east, to the everywhere. So he said it's Urim, Reim, in Kibbutz Reim in the area. It's a nice area because Aviram and me used to live in that area in Kibbutz Borhail. So I said to him, it's very close to Gaza. So he said, so what? It's we have permission from the army, from the police. No problem. So we went to celebrate, and on Saturday, the 7th of October, he woke me up in the morning at 7:45. And he said to me, "Mom, they closed the party. There are bombing. There are rockets all over, shooting. I don't know what is going on. I'm hiding. I'll call you every half an hour. Mom, I love you." this is not the way my son speaks to me. Not in the morning. I understood something happened. And I watched TV, and I understood there's something tragedy happened. We couldn't realize where exactly happened. And my daughter published his picture and asked her in the Facebook who saw Almog. He went to Nova Festival, and after about 3 hours, I got a phone call from someone. She saw him in the video clip that Hamas published. And she said to me, I don't know if it's Almog. I think, I'm sorry. And she sent me the video clip. And the moment I saw the video, I understood. I recognized my son. And this was the moment I understood that my life going to change. It won't be the same. It won't be the same. So I called my daughter, and she got the video, and she saw it before from somebody else. And my brother called me, and I told him, I sent the video clip to him. And we met all the family. And the moment that my brother came to me, he said, we have to work. We have to bring him back. So we decided that's what we are going to do. If it was easy, we can go to Gaza and bring him back. But the situation is different. I don't know if he eats, if he brushes his teeth, if he takes a shower, if he sleeps. Where is he? The only thing I know, that he is alive. And from all the stories that of the hostages that came back home, we understand that the conditions there are terrible. And I'm very worried, very. But I know, I feel him very well. I speak to him all the time. If I'll be strong, he will be strong. I'll give him strength. And he gave me back. I know, I understood that while I am busy and doing things for bringing him back, it makes me power, it makes me strong. And we will do everything to to bring him back before the 7th of October. I am, but I worked as a kindergarten teacher. Since then, I can't work. I can't cook. I can't do things. I can't concentrate. It took me 3 weeks to drive. It's a very complicated situation. And I'm learning how to live right now. It's not obvious that my brother took a side and gave me he comes to me, he's come with me everywhere. And I'm so proud that I have my brother with me. Thank you.
Thank you for being here. When I entered Orit's apartment, it wasn't a decision. It was an instinct that this is our mission now. There is a Israeli-Russian roulette, and it is our time. We fell in the roulette, and we have to act. We have to do something with it. And the first thing we try to do is to bring information. The first week was chaos. Just to know, there were 3,200 missing persons in the first week. Nobody knew anything about nothing. In this mess, we're trying to understand what to do. So first thing, we called people who were in the Nova Festival, and we tried to bring information. And one thing I didn't understand, it's if the party was over at 6:30 in the morning, why Almog called his mother 1 hour and 15 minutes later? Something is not fit. Just lately, we discovered, you saw in the video that we were in the ground, and we met there the head police of Akim, who ran the event. He was in the event, and he told us a few things that we didn't know. First, at 6:30, there were missiles who went from Gaza, south, east, and north, but everything flew over the party. So after 10 minutes or 15 minutes, all the area was very quiet. In the party, the producers and the army and the police didn't know what happened 4 kilometers north of the party, Kibbutz Be'eri, and didn't know what happened in the military base, in the central military base, south of the party, 4 kilometers. So in the party, the music ended, but people continued dancing because they were sure that the missiles flew over and now we can continue with the music. And the police didn't agree and start softly ask the dancers to leave the place. There were people who were sleeping there in tents, so the police went to the tents, woke them up, and asked them to leave the area. the terrorists didn't know about the party. They discovered it because they saw in Be'eri Junction, in the north part, and in the military base, in the southern part, that lots of cars are coming over there, and they are stopping them with fire and killing all the drivers and the passengers. So some of the cars went back to the party and told the policemen that it's possible to drive in the road because terrorists attacked them. The terrorists understood there is something inside, and the Toyotas started to arrive to the area, and they discovered, I don't know how to describe it, fresh meat. They didn't know, and they started to act. They arrived the area at about between 7:30 and 7:50. And this is the first time they are shooting in the ground. And this is the reason Almog called his mother that time. By the way, Evyatar contacted his mother that time also. After the phone call, Almog entered his friend's car. To the car entered two other girls which they knew from the army, and they tried to escape. They didn't have any chance. They got shot. They escaped from the car. The two sisters, ran away from the car while they are talking with their father, and after 1 hour and a half, their father heard the last breath of his daughters. Tomer, the driver, Almog's friend, ran away and hid. They separated. They ran to different directions. But we understand from Almog's iPhone that they talked at about 8:18, and Tomer called Almog at 8:24, but Almog didn't answer. 1 hour later, Tomer had been murdered. In this time, he called his parents and told them the story about the car. This is how we know about the car. Almog was one of 40 hostages who went from Nova Festival to Gaza. By the way, in the festival itself, there were 392 murders and 40 hostages just from there. This is the story. Now, what you're going to do with it? As I said, first week, we didn't understand anything. Try to get information. In the end of the first week, there was a press conference, and we were invited to come to a garage in Tel Aviv, where all the families who don't know anything about their dears can come. And from that day, we established the family forum. You see this. You see all the merchandise that we are here with, and from that day, lots of good people come and support us. The family forum, the MirYam Institute, lots of people in Israel, the city hall of Or Yehuda, where Orit and Almog are living. And it's details like dinner every day, who is cleaning the house, and fixing things. A little bit later, merchandise also. And a little bit later, the government established the Kidnapped Forum. It took them time, but now they are acting very good, I have to say. And we are acting and we initiate things to Almog, and we initiate as part of the Family Forum. As you know, we are in the 90-day. It's today. And we have lots of activities coming on in front of the 100 day, which will be very soon. So next week there will be lots of marches. There will be a very big parade in the Western Wall. I believe there will be 200, 300,000 people there. And there's going to be lots of activities. The purpose of the activities is for awareness to the hostages, for Eviatar and for Almog. And we ask you to keep this subject all the time on the table, calling your senators, congressmen, ask him what he is going to do today for the hostages. As Eli said, it's not political, it's humanitarian. People are suffering there. Thank you very much.
So is that working? Yes. Yeah. So thank you very much. It's working, this microphone?
No. Second.
Is this working? No. Thank you. Hi, is that working? Yeah. Great. So we're going to move on to questions. And these are questions from you, the audience. And I just want to establish the rules of the questions. Rules of the questions, it'll be one question, one answer, and then on to the next. And I'm beseeching you, please engage with them, but please don't make any speeches that are disguised as questions, okay? Because I'll have to intervene. But please feel confident and comfortable. We're here to engage with you. So by show of hands, yes, sir.
My voice. We have heard nothing about any NGO, non-government organization, Red Cross, or anybody visiting. Is that the case? Have you heard anything about the hostage?
I got you. So the gentleman, I'm just repeating it for the purpose of the recording, by the way. So the gentleman has asked whether or not NGOs have visited the hostages and whether they're hearing that they have not done so, but is that the case or not? Who wants to take that?
It is the case. Hamas does not allow anyone to see the hostages, really. Nothing. And we have met with some big representatives of the Red Cross, and they're all saying the same, that their hands are tied. You know, we're dealing with lunatics, and there was also at the deal when hostages were released, part of the deal was that the Red Cross will be allowed to enter and see the hostages, and Hamas broke that. So, nothing actually.
Any other questions? Yes, madam.
What is Netanyahu doing to support the cause?
The questions asked, what is the Prime Minister doing to support the cause of the hostages? Does anyone want to address themselves to that?
As I told you, the government woke up. It took their time, but they woke up. Personally, I met Netanyahu last Thursday. I met Gallant.
Yoav Gallant is the Minister of Defense.
I met Moshe Arbel, which is the Interior Minister. Everything was last week, and it was with Galia's husband, Avishai. We've been there. They are aware of the situation. And I have to tell you my impression, my personal impression, that now they are working. There are lots of new institutions, intelligence institutions, who is working just for the hostages, something that haven't been. And we're getting help from the hostages forum. They are working. One thing I can say that the public opinion had made them do. Maybe they will do other things as they think it should be, but the public opinion that we are, the families, are pressured on them everywhere, because, we are working in Israel, but we are working everywhere. We meet you here, but there are lots of other delegations in the US next week and all over the world. So public pressure is working. This is what we need from you.
Other questions, please. Yes.
The U.S. media, which we're all going to get a lot of, tends to attempt to show balance where they'll give us a death count, for instance, of Gaza citizens that have passed in this war. How can you all give us a recommendation of how we might counter this side of the media that we're receiving and be stronger and act on behalf of Israel and Israeli citizens?
So I think everybody heard that question, right? The question is, can anyone give any advice as to how to counter the biased media account which shows the ratcheting up of those Palestinian Arabs killed inside Gaza?
And he says it better than me.
I give you my opinion, of course. As you hear, and we hear, everybody is hearing, what happens in the Gaza Street. Every house has guns and ammunition. Every kindergarten has guns and ammunition and bombs. Every hospital have its own command cells and lots of ammunition. All the Gaza Street, it's kind of a terrorist base. I'm sure that you saw in the net how they educate the little kids there, and what are the shows that the kids are doing there. We are not in the body count business. We are in the values, in the humanitarian values that you have to support. We share, I believe, the same values. Live and let live. Live as you like. I will live as I like. Let's not disturb each other. This is the liberal life. This is our values. They don't share these values. They use it against us. So the body counts don't work that way. You want to add?
Yeah, I'll add to that 2 points. The first is that there was elections, I don't know if you know, on the Gaza Strip on 2006, and the Gazan people chose terror. They chose their own government. By the way, since then, were no elections because they killed all of the opposition. Yeah, it's sad, but it's true. So that's the first thing. The other thing is that we try to separate our issue from the civilians of Gaza issue, because it is a different issue. We are talking about people who had been kidnapped from their lives, which now you know personally. And again, it's a humanitarian issue. It's a separate issue. We need to demand their immediate release, unconditioned release. I mean, you can demand also peace in the region and also demand the release of all hostages alive, safe and sound.
I would just add a couple of points to that question. First of all, you should implore anybody who's got an issue with the body count inside the Gaza Strip that you're seeing on the ticker tape at the base of your TV set to present you with the body count of civilians killed in the Gaza Strip on October the 6th, and on October the 5th, and on October the 4th, because that will clearly display the fact that in the absence of Hamas raping, murdering, and kidnapping our people, there will be no body count inside the Gaza Strip. This is a direct consequence of the most horrific crimes visited upon the people of Israel since the events of the Holocaust, but they made a terrible mistake and miscalculation. The distinction between what took place during the Holocaust and what took place on October 7th is it's not the same kind of Jews. These Jews are going to fight back. They are going to go and take the fight to our enemy. And Bezrat Hashem, with God's help, they're going to wipe them out completely wipe out Hamas. That needs to be done. It needs to be pursued. And I'm very comfortable that we're doing that in the most humane way possible. The second thing is, if they give the hostages back, all of this will stop. It's not rocket science. Everybody wants to overcomplicate it. I went to the best universities to study these subjects, and I can tell you that the better the university, the higher the level of idiocy that is taught in those hallways. So it's very simple. You give the hostages back, this will stop. I don't think there's a single Israeli who, out of choice, is inside the Gaza Strip now or has a relative fighting inside the Gaza Strip who wouldn't be delighted for them to come home immediately after the hostages come back. Am I wrong? Am I mistaken? Galia? No. The third point. The whole world needs to stop dealing in what's called the soft bigotry of low expectations. We need to stop dealing in the soft bigotry of low expectations when it comes to the Palestinian Arabs. Eli spoke very clearly about the elections. These people chose these leaders. At the heart of their charter is the murder of the Jewish people wherever they may be. This is who they wanted there. They cannot feign surprise at the fact that that government, that leadership, Hamas, then pursued its manifesto. It cannot be that we sit here and say, well, they didn't know, and who can blame the Palestinian Arabs, and it's not their fault. And at the same time, we say that they are absolutely up to the task of having an independent state. Nonsense. These are not people you can live next to. I'm telling you, these are not people you can live next to. You can hold opinions about living next to them when you don't have to live next to them. But people who do this to our people cannot be lived next to. And they should be held accountable for what they did. And it doesn't mean dealing in genocide or ethnic cleansing. It's no such thing. God forbid, no soldier would follow an order that facilitated genocide or ethnic cleansing. I do not know that soldier, and I served from 2005 to 2019. And nobody on this stage knows such a soldier either, do you? So let them be accountable for that which they brought about. And if you don't want them to be accountable, then don't tell me that they're capable of having a state. And the last thing is, when you look at the news, when you see the images of October 7th, madam, we all know how Hamas behaved. But you look at the video clippings of the dead soldiers and of the elderly women who were taken by Hamas into the Gaza Strip, and you look at the hundreds and thousands of Palestinian Arabs who were dancing and cheering and stamping on the faces of our dead soldiers. Are these people you can make peace with? I can tell you right now that were the opposite to happen, were the Jewish people in this inverted reality that I'm portraying, this imaginary universe that I'm now going to delve into, if the Jewish people had gone forward and murdered 1,300 innocent Palestinians and dragged 240 to be kidnapped and isolated in dungeons within southern Israel, the whole of Israeli society would condemn the Jews who had done that. They would out the Jews who had done that, and they would work tirelessly to send those people back home to where they belonged, those who had been kidnapped. Nobody would suffer such a thing. You don't judge society by how elements within it act. Every society has bad elements. You judge a society by how the society at large responds to a heinous action. And I'm afraid the Palestinian Arabs have no record worth being defended whatsoever. So you should think about those things and you should challenge people with those points. We'll take one last question. Yes, madam.
To your point, we've heard that some of the hostages who have been released were kept with Palestinian families apart from Hamas and mistreated. Is that correct?
I know something about that. I'll just repeat the question. The lady asked if it's correct that some of the families were held in captivity in Palestinian Arab homes inside the Gaza Strip.
That's correct.
That's correct. Some of the hostages are in families, and some of them are in the channels. And we know from the hostages who come back home alive, we know that some of them were alone in a family, some of them were in groups, everyone in a different situation. And
it changes. In the beginning, they were in families, but now the situation, the security situation in Gaza Strip is very bad for everybody. So I believe that the hostages that have been hosted in the family house now are not with them. They are underground, I believe, because IDF controls, I believe, about 80% of the Gaza Strip. So the conditions now are harder, and the chances of living is harder there.
I think the most important thing, or the point, yes, families took our boys, just families. So it's connection with the first one of the first questions. They act like Hamas.
I think that we're going to conclude with a tefillah from the rabbi, and then we'll sing Hatikva together.
We'll do it in English. I think that's the best way to go. First, a prayer for those held in captivity, should be reunited with their families now. Achenu Kol Beis Yisrael, our brothers and sisters, the whole house of Israel who are in distress and captivity, who wander over sea and over land. May Hashem, may God have mercy on them and bring them back from distress to comfort, from darkness to light, from slavery to redemption, now swiftly, and let us all say, Amen. A prayer for the Holy Land, for Eretz Yisrael. our Father in heaven, rock and redeemer of the people of Israel, bless the state of Israel with its promise of redemption, shield it with your love, spread over it shelter it with your peace. Guide its leaders and advisors with your light and your truth. Help them with your good counsel. Strengthen the hands of those who defend our holy land. Deliver them, crown their efforts with triumph. Bless the land with peace and its inhabitants with lasting joy. Amen, and so let it be your will. Thank you so much for being here tonight, and to conclude with...
התקווה. אבירם, תרביץ. אז תשאר. תתחיל אתה, תתחיל.
להיות עם חופשי בארצנו.